In this video, we're breaking down 3 WNBA games happening on May 22, 2026, and providing you with a side pick and a total pick for every matchup, 6 free picks in total. As usual, stick around until the end because you won't want to miss out on anything. Golden State Valkyries versus Indiana Fever. The Fever are sitting at 3-2 right now, rolling through a homestand that has this whole team feeling dangerous. Wednesday night against the Portland Fire, Indiana cruised to a 90-73 win. And here's the kicker, they did that without Caitlin Clark even suiting up. Clark sat with a back issue. Stephanie White slotted Tyasha Harris into the starting 5 without hesitating, and the Fever won by 17. That kind of performance without your franchise player tells you something real about how deep this Indiana roster goes in 2026. Monique Billings came over from Golden State during free agency. Kelsey Mitchell re-signed on a 1-year deal. Lexi Hull locked in a multi-year extension, and Aaliyah Boston continues anchoring everything from the paint outward. This roster is layered in ways the Fever haven't been in years. Clark is listed as probable tonight with that nagging back injury, and if she suits up, you're adding back a player who was putting up 24.3 points and a league-leading 9 assists per game before the scratch. Honestly, think about how terrifying that is if you're drawing up the game plan for Golden State. You already watched this team beat Portland by 17 without her, and now she might walk back onto the floor. Golden State comes into Gainbridge Fieldhouse at 3-1 after what might have been the signature win of the young WNBA season, an 87-70 stomping of the New York Liberty at Barclays Center. Natalie Nakasi, who took home Coach of the Year in the Valkyries' inaugural 2025 season, has this group playing fearless basketball. You have to tip your cap to what they accomplished last night. But that game was literally last night. Golden State is on the second leg of a back-to-back, their very first of the entire 2026 season. They flew from New York to Indianapolis today, probably touched down sometime this afternoon, and now they tip off at 7:30 against a team that's been sitting at home all week getting healthy and preparing. If you've ever played a competitive game after a full day of travel, you know exactly how those legs feel when the third quarter hits. It catches up with you every single time. Indiana ranks second in the entire WNBA in pace this season. The Fever want to run, and they will run, and a Golden State team dragging from an overnight road trip is the worst possible opponent to face in that kind of up-and-down track meet. Transition defense requires fresh legs and sharp focus, and both of those deteriorate fast when you're gassed. The Valkyries' defensive identity leans on perimeter rotations and closeouts, the exact things that break down first when fatigue creeps in. Meanwhile, Boston is a wrecking ball on the glass, posting elite efficiency numbers all season long. She'll grab boards, push the pace, and generate second-chance opportunities against a front court that just spent last night battling Jonquel Jones and Brianna Stewart in Brooklyn. That's a brutal turnaround for any big rotation. The 2025 head-to-head gives you pause for a moment because Golden State swept Indiana in all 3 meetings last season. Looks ugly on paper, but you have to remember Clark only played 13 games the entire 2025 season due to a brutal string of injuries, a quad strain, a groin issue, and eventually a full shutdown. That Fever squad was a shell of what it should have been, and the Valkyries caught them at their absolute lowest. The 2026 version with a healthy Clark, a deeper bench, and Billings adding the kind of front-court toughness she literally took from this Golden State roster, that is a completely different team. The crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse has been electric all season. Sold-out buildings have become routine in Indianapolis, and home court energy in the WNBA matters more than most people give it credit for. Indiana has gone 10-1 against the number over the past 2 seasons when hosting winning opponents at home, and that trend doesn't happen by accident. The Valkyries walking into that atmosphere on dead legs after an emotional upset win the night before is an absolutely brutal scheduling ask. As our first pick for this matchup, the Indiana Fever to cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Indiana scores 95.5 points per game this season, second in the entire WNBA. Let that number breathe for a second. These Fever games are not grinding, low-possession slogs where both teams struggle to find the bottom of the net. Their season opener against Dallas finished 107-104, and even the games Indiana has won comfortably featured point totals that made you raise an eyebrow. The offensive rating sits top 5 league-wide, and Indiana allows 91.8 points per game on the other end, which ranks 12th. So they score a ton, and they give up a decent chunk too. That combination is music to the ears for anyone looking at the scoreboard tonight. Golden State's offensive identity feeds into this perfectly. The Valkyries lead the WNBA in three-point attempts, launching 32 per game and converting at a 36.5% clip, third best in the league. Over 42% of everything Golden State scores comes from behind the arc, the highest proportion of any team in women's basketball. Janelle Salian has been unconscious from deep, shooting 50% on her threes this season, and Gabby Williams is averaging 2.7 made threes per contest, on pace to shatter her career high. Veronica Burton orchestrates the whole thing at 11.9 points and 6 assists per game, while Kayla Thornton provides steady scoring from the front court. These Valkyries just hung 87 on the Liberty, one of the better defensive teams in the league, on the road at Barclays. If Golden State can do that in Brooklyn, they can put up points in Indianapolis. The fatigue factor works in favor of more points here, not fewer. Tired defenders don't close out as hard on shooters. Rotations get lazy, help defense becomes more of a suggestion than a guarantee, and contest rates drop across the board. Golden State has been surrendering over 38% from three on defense this season, and that number figures to climb on legs that have nothing left to give after a cross-country back-to-back. Indiana's ball movement, with Clark distributing and Mitchell flying off screens, will find open looks all night long. Mitchell has been one of the most dangerous scoring guards in the WNBA for years running now, and Boston's interior gravity forces help defenders to sag into the paint, which leaves the perimeter wide open for kickouts. You're looking at the second fastest team in the league hosting a squad that fires more threes than anyone else in women's basketball. Both defenses have shown real cracks this season. Both offenses have proven they can erupt on any given night. Back-to-back fatigue on the Golden State side only compounds the kind of defensive breakdowns you'd expect from a team that lives and dies by volume shooting. This game has track meet written all over it, and both teams have the personnel to keep the scoreboard moving from the opening tip all the way through the final horn. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Quick commercial break. You know the deal. If you want to get our exclusive best sport picks to take things to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Go check it out. Commercial break over. Now back to the game. Dallas Wings versus Atlanta. You know what's funny about revenge games in the WNBA? They rarely play out the way you'd expect, and this one on Friday night in College Park has all the ingredients for an upset that the market might be sleeping on. The Dallas Wings roll into Gateway Center Arena at 3-2, riding a two-game win streak, while the Atlanta Dream sit at 2-1 and haven't touched a basketball in a competitive setting since last Sunday when they dropped an 85-84 heartbreaker to the defending champion Las Vegas Aces. And listen, these two already met 10 days ago, May 12th in Arlington, and Atlanta walked away with a 77-72 win. Case closed, right? Atlanta proved they're better. Except, and here's where it gets interesting, that first meeting might as well have been a completely different Dallas team. The Wings were missing Azzi Fudd in that game. The #1 overall pick from UConn, the woman who reunited with her college teammate Paige Bueckers to form the most terrifying backcourt duo in the league, wasn't on the floor. Since returning, Fudd has dropped 12 points in each of her last 2 appearances off the bench, shooting the lights out, going a perfect 2 for 2 from 3 against Chicago while adding instant offense and spacing that this Dallas offense desperately needed. You add Fudd to a lineup that already features Bueckers, Arike Ogunbowale, and Odyssey Sims, and that backcourt can cook against anyone in this league. Dallas, in that May 12th loss, looked like a team trying to run a 3-cylinder engine. Tonight they've got all 4 firing. And speaking of firing, let's talk about what the Wings have done since that loss. They got humbled again by Minnesota, 90-86, dropping to 1-2 on the season. Backs against the wall for a franchise that went 10-34 just last year. Then something clicked. Jose Fernandez, the new head coach who replaced Chris Coclains after the franchise's worst campaign in a decade, started getting his message through. Dallas demolished Washington 92-69, a 23-point blowout at home that felt like a statement. Then they went on the road to Chicago and beat the Sky 99-89, with Jessica Shepard putting up a triple-double, 18 points, 10 rebounds, and 12 assists. Bueckers poured in 24. Ogunbowale hit 4 threes and finished with 23. 3 different players scoring 18 or more in the same road game tells you this offense is starting to hum. Meanwhile, Atlanta's situation isn't as clean as their record suggests. Yes, the Dream went 30-14 last year under Carl Smesko, a franchise-best campaign. Yes, they added Angel Reese from Chicago in what might have been the biggest trade of the offseason, giving up 2027 and 2028 first-round picks to get her. Reese grabbed 16 rebounds and scored 12 in that May 12th win over Dallas, which is exactly the kind of monster stat line you expect from the woman who led the entire WNBA in rebounding last season. But the Dream are hurting right now. Brianna Jones, their five-time All-Star center who averaged 12.8 points and 7.3 rebounds last season, has been ruled out indefinitely after tearing her meniscus overseas in February and undergoing knee surgery. That's a massive absence, and there's no timetable for her return. On top of that, Rhyne Howard, who was averaging 14.5 points, 4.5 assists, and 4.5 rebounds through Atlanta's first two games, entered concussion protocol before the Vegas game on May 17th. She missed that one. The Dream lost by a single point, and the last update suggested her earliest possible return could be May 24th against Phoenix. If Howard is still in protocol tonight, Atlanta is missing two starters from the team that beat Dallas 10 days ago. Think about that for a second. The Wings are getting healthier, adding Fudd back, building chemistry with every game, while the Dream are potentially thinning out right when the schedule tightens. Alicia Gray is a baller, no question. She went off for 26 points in that first meeting and earned all WNBA first-team honors last year. Jordan Canada can run a floor with the best of them, but asking them to carry the same workload without Howard and Jones, that's a tall order against a Dallas team that just generated 99 points on the road and has three guards who can get you 20 on any given night. Dallas also brought in Alana Smith, the 2025 Co-Defensive Player of the Year from Minnesota, and Elisha Clark, a three-time WNBA champion, to shore up their front court and add veteran savvy that this franchise has lacked for years. The Wings are deeper than they've been at any point since relocating to Texas. The Dream enter this game on 5 days rest, which sounds like a positive, but rust is a real concern for a team that lost its last outing and might be missing key pieces. Dallas, playing their 6th game in 13 days, has a rhythm and an edge right now that's hard to fake. As our first pick for this matchup, the Dallas Wings to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Both of these teams have something in common that the box scores from their flashier games tend to hide. They grind. When you zoom out from that 107-point explosion Dallas had against Indiana in Game 1 or the 99-point outing in Chicago, and you look at the full picture, you start to see a very different pattern. The first time these two met, 149 total points. That's it. Atlanta scored 77, Dallas managed just 72, and if you were watching that game, you know it felt even lower than the score suggests. Turnovers, missed threes, half-court sets that went nowhere. It was a physical, grimy, half-court affair where neither team could find a consistent rhythm offensively. Atlanta's 3 games this season tell a similar story of suppressed scoring. They beat Minnesota 91-90, then won that Dallas game 77-72, and lost to Vegas 84-85. That's game totals of 181, 149, and 169. 2 of 3 under 170. The Dream's calling card under Smesco hasn't been lighting up scoreboards. It's been rebounding, getting to the free throw line, and making your life miserable on defense. Reese is a force on the glass. Naz Hillman can bang down low, and their guard trio of Gray, Canada, and Howard when healthy plays with a disruptive, switching heavy style that takes away clean looks. Losing Howard and Jones doesn't make this team more offense-friendly, it makes them more conservative. They'll tighten up, protect possessions, and lean into what they do best defensively because they can't afford shootouts without their full roster. On the Dallas side, the scoring has been volatile. They hung 107 on Indiana, then managed only 72 against Atlanta, dropped to 86 against Minnesota, bounced back with 92, and then hit 99 in Chicago. 2 of those 5 games landed below 85 points. Jose Fernandez comes from the college coaching ranks at Florida International, and he coaches a methodical half-court offense that emphasizes ball movement and shot selection over pace. When Dallas played Atlanta the first time, Fernandez saw his team held to 72 points and watched them shoot poorly from the perimeter all night. This time around, he'll have Fudd available to space the floor, but he also knows Atlanta's defense is built to take away the three-point line and funnel everything inside. The Dream's perimeter defense limited Dallas to terrible efficiency in that first meeting, and the Wings will remember that film session. Gateway Center Arena seats 3,500 people. It's one of the smallest venues in the WNBA, and the atmosphere gets tight and loud in there. Road teams tend to struggle with their offensive flow in that building because every possession feels magnified, the crowd is right on top of you, and the rims somehow feel a little tighter when you've got Dream fans screaming in your ear. That environment favors slow, physical, defensive basketball, and both coaching staffs will lean into that. Fernandez wants his team to protect the ball, with Dallas posting a 3.5 assist-to-turnover ratio in their last game, and Smesko wants to control tempo and keep possessions limited. When two coaches who prioritize efficiency over volume meet in a small arena with a 5-day rested defensive team hosting a road squad, the math points one direction. Recent head-to-head history backs this up too, as the May 12th meeting produced just 149 combined points, and the scoring trends from both teams' seasons show that their lower output games happen far more often than the high-scoring ones. We're looking at two teams that both have the defensive personnel and coaching philosophy to keep this one ugly. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Connecticut Sun versus Seattle Storm. Here's the thing about a team that finally breaks through after 5 straight losses to start a season. They don't just forget how they did it. Connecticut walked into Climate Pledge Arena on Wednesday night at 0-5, the last winless squad in the entire WNBA, and walked out with a gritty 80-78 victory over this same Seattle team. And it wasn't their starters who saved them. The Suns' starting unit of Anissa Morrow, Gianna Neepkins, and Haley Van Lith combined for just 4 points on 1 of 7 shooting in that first half, and head coach Ratchet Meziane had to completely blow up his lineup at halftime, inserting 3 rookies to start the second half. That kind of desperation move doesn't usually work, but it worked beautifully on Wednesday. Kennedy Burke came off the bench and dropped 15 points, including the go-ahead 3-point play with 2.8 seconds left. Charlize Ledger-Walker posted a career-high 16 points. Nell Angloma, the number 12 overall pick in this year's draft, put up a career-best 15 of her own with 7 boards and 3 steals. Even undrafted rookie Reagan Beers chipped in 10 points and a game-high 8 rebounds. That's 56 combined points from players who weren't even in the starting 5 to begin the game. Now here's why that matters for Friday's rematch. Seattle is dealing with a front court that is, honestly, held together with tape and good intentions right now. Easy Magbager, their 4-time all-defensive selection who led the league with 96 blocks last season, hasn't played a single minute this year because of a right foot injury she suffered during international play with Australia back in March, and she's not expected back until early June. Dominique Malonga, who scored 21 points in the season opener and looked like the centerpiece of Seattle's rebuild, has now missed at least 2 straight games in concussion protocol. Katie Lou Samuelson remains out after right knee surgery. So the Storm are trotting out a roster on Friday that's missing 3 key front court pieces, and you could see exactly what that absence looked like on the glass Wednesday night when Connecticut out-rebounded Seattle 38-26. That's not a small margin, that's a full-on mismatch on the boards. Second chance opportunities, putbacks, extended possessions, all of that tilts toward the Sun when the Storm can't match up physically inside. And look, Seattle is 1-4 and riding a 3-game losing streak. Their only win this entire season came against Connecticut back on May 10th when the Sun were still at 0-0. Since then, the Storm lost to Indiana by 11, got handled by Toronto, and just dropped this last one at home to the Sun. The market is giving Seattle credit for home court here, but this is a team that was favored at home earlier this season and lost. Their implied win probability sits at about 59%, but Connecticut just proved less than 48 hours ago that it can go into Climate Pledge and win outright. The psychological edge is real. When you've already beaten someone in their building, you're not scared of them 2 days later. Connecticut's perimeter defense held Seattle to 44% shooting Wednesday and forced 17 turnovers that turned into 20 Sun points. On the other side, Seattle's perimeter game has been painful to watch. Natisha Heidemann is shooting under 30% from 3 on the season. Jordan Horston, who missed all of 2025 with a torn ACL and is still finding her legs, went 0 for 5 from deep on Wednesday. Flau J. Johnson, the explosive rookie acquired via trade on draft night from Golden State, is sitting below 24% from beyond the arc. When you can't shoot from outside and you can't rebound inside because your bigs are sitting in street clothes, you're asking a lot of your home crowd to carry you. Connecticut also gets a huge boost from getting Anissa Morrow back in the starting lineup for Friday, and that's significant because she came into Wednesday's game averaging a double-double in 4 consecutive contests before leaving early. With Morrow back and the Suns bench crew riding sky-high confidence after Wednesday's heroics, there's a real scenario where Connecticut doesn't just cover here, they win outright again. Seattle's first-year head coach Sonia Raman is still trying to figure out rotations with a roster that lost its top 5 scorers from last season in free agency, and the growing pains are showing. As our first pick for this matchup, the Connecticut Sun to cover the spread as underdogs is our full-game side pick. Both of these rosters are banged up in ways that specifically limit offensive production, and that's the thread worth pulling for the total in this one. Connecticut is playing without Brittany Griner, who sat out Wednesday with a right rib injury and is expected to miss Friday as well. Griner is the Suns' leading scorer this season, and when you remove that kind of gravity from a lineup, the remaining players don't just magically absorb those touches efficiently. Olivia Nelson-Ododa is also out for a third consecutive game with a right ankle injury, further thinning the Suns' front court rotation. Without those two, Connecticut is leaning heavily on rookies and bench players who delivered on Wednesday but shouldn't be expected to sustain that level of scoring consistently. Remember, the Suns scored 80 points Wednesday, and that included a performance where the bench went absolutely nuclear with 62 bench points, which is not a repeatable number night after night in the WNBA. On Seattle's side, the picture is arguably bleaker offensively. The Storm scored just 78 on Wednesday and haven't cracked 80 points in back-to-back games during this 3-game skid. They got just 89 against Indiana, fell to Toronto, and now managed only 78 against Connecticut. Without Malonga's interior scoring, without Magbegor's ability to finish around the rim, and without Samuelson's floor spacing, Seattle is relying on Hedeman and Mackenzie Holmes to carry the scoring load, and that's a lot to ask of two players who don't have a reliable third option behind them right now. The first meeting between these teams on May 10th finished at 171 combined points, but that was a completely different situation. Griner was healthy and scored 16 in that game. Malonga was healthy and led Seattle with 21, and both rosters had more firepower available. Wednesday's rematch, with both teams depleted, landed at just 158 combined. That's a 13-point drop from the first meeting, and the injury situation hasn't improved for either side heading into Friday. If anything, it's gotten worse, with Morrow's health still a question mark and Malonga still in concussion protocol. The pace of play matters here too. Both of these teams under their current coaching staffs are not high-octane offensive juggernauts. Connecticut is running a lot of possessions through young players who are still learning the WNBA game, and that leads to longer possessions, more ball movement, and sometimes just flat-out stalled half-court sets. Seattle under Raman is trying to implement a faster system, but the personnel isn't cooperating, especially without the rim-running ability of Magbager or the post scoring of Malonga. What you end up with is two teams grinding through possessions, turning the ball over, and struggling to generate clean looks from the perimeter. Connecticut's defensive intensity was impressive Wednesday, and there's no reason to think the Sun will suddenly stop trying on that end in a game where they smell another win. Honestly, when you put two teams together that are both shooting inconsistently from three, both missing key offensive weapons, and both fighting for wins in a way that increases defensive effort and slows the game down, the natural trajectory of the scoring leans one direction. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.